command is good against sort of start to creep back up, and then people will immediately go back to the Dromica's commands, and you'll probably see that happen. I think Bank Company's here to stay. This deck's just too good. Okay, the players are ready.
A card.
It is, man. Let's just head down to the feature match area for round number 14 here from Portland. Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Portland. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Jacob Van Lunen. Wow, all fun and games down in the feature match area here for Chris Botello versus Alex Sittner. Both players with excellent records here in the tournament, sitting at 12-1 with just a couple of rounds to go. And we've got a nice one. So Grixis Cat Pact. I need you to break this one down for us, Jake, because this is a deck that we have not seen that much. What is it trying to do?
All right, so endgame for Chris Botello is to play Demonic Pact, and after using all of those fun abilities, shooting something for 4, gaining 4 life, drawing 2 cards, making your opponent discard 2 cards. Once you've done all of those great things, then you use Harmless Offering.
Which is like, by the way, in air quotes, right?
Yeah. And you hand them a Demonic Pact that only has one option available, and that option is you lose the game. So by doing so, you get this incredibly powerful 4-mana card that's just, essentially a 5-for-1 that then also acts as your win condition when you're able to combo it with this 2-mana red spell.
I'm in.
Sounds cool
It's
to me.
our turn now. We get to watch this deck, though, so this should be exciting. On the other side of the table, a much more well-known deck from Alex Sittner. He's playing Black-Green Delirium, and wow, nice start for Alex here. He's got the
Great
Grimslayer, yeah, and he's even got the Nissa to follow up. He may have Delirium after this turn. You never know. He's going to attack for a couple of damage and get that trigger, and this could get out of hand very quickly. I mean, I'm assuming that Chris Botello's deck isn't particularly quick.
Wouldn't seem to be
at winning, so... if he starts taking 4 a turn from this Grimflayer, it could get out of hand.
Grimflayer gets pretty big pretty fast.
Indeed.
See, so no Delirium just yet, but setting himself up pretty nicely here.
Or was he?
Guess
Wow.
not.
Radiant Flames from Chris Botello is going to sweep away the board. What brutality.
And you see, there again, we're seeing the power of Nissa Vaswoodseer there, because a Radiant Flames killing 2 of your opponent's creatures, clearing the board for you. It seems like it's so good. But because Nissa grabbed that extra land, he's essentially just trading 1 card for 1 card. And sure, he's definitely ahead as a result, but...
By the way, dun dun dun, Demonic Pact has arrived. So this is going to be sweet. We get to see what direction Chris wants to go with his Demonic Pact here. It is going to trigger at the beginning of his upkeep. This is one of the really rough things about playing Demonic Pact, is that this is standard. Every turn counts, and he's just tapped out for 4 mana. No effect yet. So this is very much a plan that is down the line for Chris, but we're going to see if Alex can capitalize on the fact that, he kind of didn't affect the board this turn at all, and, how much damage can he get in and what kind of board can he build out in the meantime. Then what you'll see is the Demonic Pact sort of acts as kind of a planeswalker for you.
An absurdly strong planeswalker, too.
Just get those free activations every turn.
Like, look at this. Like, he's able to, imagine he's going to be killing the Tireless Tracker here.
Give it do 4 damage to it. You think he's just going to do that?
Yeah, crack it for 4. Who knows? Hypothetically, it's possible that he would want to draw 2, but...
And that's, of course, going to help him get some of that life back. And this is one of the cool things about the way that Demonic Pact was designed, is that it asks you to take a turn off effectively, a big turn, 4 mana turn off, but he just gained 4 life back, which is how much he took on the last turn. And here's an Oath of Jace.
Ooh, this deck is sweet.
This deck is
Oh.
sweet. Look what we've been missing out on all day.
Yeah,
We've been
they've got
watching
to watch
Bant
all
Company
this.
mirrors.
He's like sculpting up the perfect hand. Demonic Pact is so strong. That's not too bad. Vessel of Nascency, looking at Ishkana or Liliana. A few different options.
Chris Patello with a nice little curve out here.
Now, something that can happen in this standard format, and I'm not saying it's likely, especially considering Chris has access to counter magic and things like that, but your opponent could cast Emrakul when the only option on your Demonic Pact remaining is you lose the game. Correct? Or they could cast Emrakul on you when you have a Demonic Pact in general and choose to lose the game.
That is true.
Correct?
That's awkward.
So if Emrakul is ever cast against this deck when it has Demonic Pact in play, the opponent can just choose to lose the game.
You dead.
Which
How is
may
Chris
seem
Patello
terrifying.
12-1?
But he's 12-1. Yeah, no,
Man.
I'm impressed.
Attention Magic players, Connor Kelly. Connor Kelly, your draft is waiting for you. Please make your way to the Blue Gathering Point banner. Connor Kelly, your draft is waiting. Please make your way to the Blue Gathering Point banner.
And Alex Sidner not applying that much pressure. And I mean, when you just let a Demonic Pact sit there, it generates a lot of card advantage. Sure, he has all these clues to pop, but look at this.
This is kind of cool because if you look, Chris he's got little shorthand for each of the ones that he's used. So 4 is the do 4. It looks like plus is what he's decided on for the draw 2.
And minus is going to be
Gotta
the
be,
discard.
gotta
and
be
then
the discard. And then there's one left.
sad face.
The sad face? It's probably happy face more often than not in his list. And he's just going to give it to him right now. Here it is, harmless offering. I have a gift for you, friend. I like you, Alex Sittner, and I want to give you something.
I like that he's giving it to him right now too, because
love
what
that.
he's worried about is passing the turn back and Alex somehow casting Emrakul. And now that he's giving it to him now, that's no longer a way to lose the game. He was like, how can I lose this game? That's how.
Yeah, and he's got cards in his hand that are probably not super relevant given the board state, especially given the fact that Alex is tasked now with getting Chris dead. And that's game! Alex Sittner scoops it up. He knows I can make you discard a couple of cards, and then I'm going to die the next turn, and I have no outs in my deck.
That kitten fits inside the
LOL.
palm of a single hand. This is pretty awesome. See, but
Chris Patello with game 1.
the thing I was worried about, he played around it effectively and instantly won the game.
By the way, we see Cody Lingelbach, who's playing the Crush deck here. And, wow, a Skyline Cascade to keep Jace tapped down as well? Brutal. But you can see he's awakened a land here from Part the Water Veil, is what I'm assuming. He's got 6 counters on that thing, so...
And Part the Waterfell's so good with Nissa Vastwood Seer also. I mean, the thing is you get to activate the Nissa multiple times, and if you're able to chain together multiple Part the Waterfells, especially if there wasn't much pressure on you before you played the Nissa and it became Sage Animus, then a lot of the time you get to actually kill people with Nissa Ultimate for a couple turns. Just a lot of damage coming so quickly. Is that it? It looks like there's more action in...
And we're still fighting here. Looks like
Ooh.
Oliver took a big chunk out of Nissa's loyalty there and then passed a turn back.
Yeah, he's got to not feel good about this, though. Look
No.
how many lands Cody has in play. He has the Nissa.
He's going to draw a card. Yeah, it's an explosive vegetation. Fine.
Not really what he's looking for.
Not what he wants right now. I think he'd rather use that mana to activate those lumbering falls if he's going to spend mana. He really just wants to find apart the water veil here, right?
Yeah, part of the water veil, I think it's just game here.
He drew a Crush of Tentacles.
One of the nice things about Crush, too, is that it returns non-land permanents
Mhm.
in your Awakening lands in this deck.
That's
So
cute, yeah.
you get a lot of free attacks out of that.
And you can really see he's going for it. Look at this Crush of Tentacles. He's going to get back an Elvish Visionary, an Oath of Nissa, and his original Nissa. Do you know how much value he gets from that?
Yeah, and now the Nissa gets to search for another land. Then it becomes a Planeswalker again. He gets to activate it again.
Because it's a new, the
Yeah.
game sees it as a new entity. Then he can also play the Oath of Nissa and he's just going to jam as it turns out. But he has all these options in his hand now where he can play the Oath of Nissa and the Visionary. All right, he's going to play the Oath of Nissa now. How is Oliver even hanging around at this point?
And this is
Cody's at
not looking good for
19.
Oliver.
Wow. Maybe it's not all Bant Company here in Portland. Like, this is sweet.
Yeah, this is really exciting. And these are the top tables, too.
Yeah, these are this is 11-1-1 Cody Lingelbach, who just picked up game 1 against 12-1 Oliver Tomaszko there. And we just saw Chris Botello here wrap up a little present for Alex Sittner. So this is a real deal. These decks are real. I don't know if they're format staples, but they're real.
Yeah, and that's what's so exciting about the standard format, and especially in the fallout of the Pro Tour. I was talking about this a bit yesterday, but normally you have a standard format, and then the Pro Tour happens, and suddenly everyone narrows in on the best Pro Tour deck, and that just becomes what standard is.
Like what we saw from Green-White in the last Pro Tour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then we have this Pro Tour, and it actually got more diverse. The Pro Tour happened, and instead of everybody saying, oh, wow, that was the best deck from the Pro Tour, and a lot of people said that about a lot of decks from the Pro Tour, what ended up happening is just the whole thing crumbled, and everything went all over the place, and everybody can just basically play whatever they want to at this point. Including a deck that's casting Harmless Offering to hand its opponent Demonic Pact.
25,000 ticket Legacy Battle Players. That is the end of round 5.
Looks like Chris is going to take a mulligan here in game 2.
I overheard Chris talking to Megan when she was doing a deck tech with him, and one of the things he said was very strong about his deck was its ability to mulligan very well.
Really?
Yeah, he said that,
I'm
something...
surprised to hear that.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that also, because he was saying that decks in Standard tend to not mulligan well, but that the Grixis Catback deck actually mulligans very well.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about it in terms of this, right? You need pieces.
Yeah.
It isn't a combo deck, but it has combo deck elements where you need one thing and then the other.
It's more of a control deck.
Yeah, that's the shell that it's in. We saw the Radiant Flames in the main deck from Chris, and he has kept and put it on top. Must be nice. All right, Alex is going to cast Traverse the Ulvenwald, which is something that we've seen very consistently here to help people keep their mana flowing, get some Delirium going, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Traverse has become a lot better in this new standard format, too, where you can use it to hit land drops, fix your mana in the early game, and then the late game, obviously one of the best top decks you could possibly draw.
That's right. Transgress the Mind now from Alex Sittner is going to reveal the hand of Chris. He's got Transgress, Anticipate, Grasp of Darkness.
I mean, Dark Petition seems like a...
That was the one.
Yeah, and then the other thing about taking a Dark Petition with a discard spell that I really like is that a lot of the time when it's turn 2 or turn 1 when you're casting a card like Transgress or Duress, you don't really know how the game's going to play out. You don't know which cards are going to be the most important. And Dark Petition is any card.
And there's Duress as well. So Alex really going to work on Chris's hand here. Is he going to do something about this? He's going to cast Anticipate in response.
And that's an interesting choice because
it's risky.
Here, if he sees a card like Demonic Pact, for example, then he doesn't really want to take that. It's just going to get to rest. And if he just lets the duress happen before casting Anticipate, then perhaps Chris lets him anticipate on end step, in which case he could actually go digging for a card like Demonic Pact.
Yeah. There's an Oath of Jace off the top here for Botello. But no play for this turn.
So from the looks of it, the Anticipate last turn helped him find a third land.
Indeed.
Which is what he needed. So now, next turn, if he's unable to find a fourth land, he'll be able to use that Oath of Jace to go digging, probably find it.
And Clash of Wills is going to counter. Wow. Clash of Wills.
Ooh, and Alex knew about that clash, too.
He did.
Maybe he wanted to get it out of his opponent's hand to see if something big.
He could. He played right into it. He had a land in his hand.
All right. Chris now found his red mana, so he'll be able to use Radiant Flames. Clear the board if he needs to at some point or another. Looks like he must have drawn a bunch of lands off that Oath of Jace if he's comfortable discarding them.
And then also still playing one for the turn. Yeah, he must have hit quite a few. And there's another Transgress the Mind for Alex Sittner. And it looks like it's going to miss this time.
Yeah, it just whiffs.
Did you see what that middle card was? Was it another Anticipate?
I couldn't see because it was foil.
Oh, it was blinging.
And now it's kind of a top deck war.
Well, Alex will start things off with a nice one here.
That's pretty good.
A little bit of pressure, though it's only a 2-3. And you know what? Chris isn't even going to let it survive. Looks like they just had a Grasp of Darkness fight. This must be Alex wanting to get an instant into his graveyard because he just used Grasp of Darkness on his own creature.
Yeah, and I mean...
Is this just red? Like, what is it, an Ishkana incoming that he wants to make sure he has Delirium for? Is he building up for an Emrakul? What is going on with that?
See, I imagine he's building up for Delirium, obviously, because he doesn't have an instant in the graveyard. But the bigger issue is that I think he's recognized that Chris Botello's not playing creatures. That Grasp is essentially a dead card otherwise.
And it's just better.
And it's just better in his graveyard.
He's
than it is in
dispersing
his
his Oath of Jace now. Chris Botello knows how to go deep, man.
Yeah.
That is great.
Hey, when you're playing a top deck war, dispersing Oath of Jace seems pretty good.
Yeah, very unintuitive play there from Sittner. But like you said, if it's going to hit literally nothing, he'd much rather just have it in his graveyard anyway. Silumgar's Command hits the graveyard and a card underneath it that I can't quite see. I believe it was a land.
Silumgar's Command's kind of a sweet one, too.
Oh, here's Tireless Tracker now from Sittner, though. Plays the land as well, so he's going to get that clue immediately. That could work out really well for him. All right, he's going to play another Oath of Jace. Since it's legendary, he'll have to keep one of them. This is now the third time he's resolving an Oath of Jace this game. He is just tearing through his library here.
Yeah, he's seeing a lot of cards. And it's only a matter of time before he finds the combination. I know that he has a Harmless Offering in hand already, but
he's got half
needs
the
to
combo.
find the Demonic Pact. And the thing is, you really want to find the Demonic Pact first so that you can use those modes to your advantage.
Ooh, Infinite Obliteration now from Chris Botello. Let's take a look at what you're working with here. Suppose Emrakul's the card. Oh, he had one in his hand, too.
Wow.
Got him. So Chris Botello naming Emrakul the Promised End nails the last card in hand for Sittner. Sittner is going to be able to go up a card here with that clue, but ouch.
That's brutal.
Were there any more is the question. I know that you were mentioning earlier that some of these green-black decks will just run one with all the traverses in there.
Traverse the Elvenwald really allows you to play only one of a card like that. And what's so crazy is that Chris Botello actually kind of made out like a bandit there because the one copy of Emrakul was actually in Alex's hand.
Yeah.
So he didn't
bad.
even fall behind that card advantage with that Infinite Obliteration. He just was able to empty Alex of all resources. And sure, Alex gets to draw with that clue and then have a draw step, but I wouldn't want to be in Alex's spot here.
You can see why Chris has that in for reasons you mentioned earlier. If he does find a Demonic Pact, your opponent casting Emrakul is not great news for you.
Absolutely.
You dead.
That's why sometimes you even need to give them the pact early. as we saw him do.
You did see Disperse earlier. Now, he used it on an Oath of Jace, but that is a card he can aim at his own Demonic Pact to reset it or just so he doesn't die to it.
Interested to see what direction Chris goes here.
Well, he's got a Radiant Flames for 3, and... Wow. Did Alex still not have
Delirium at that point?
Delirium still? Grimflayer's just going to die, huh? All right.
Yeah, he doesn't even have a land in his graveyard. Just instant sorcery creature.
Well, he does now. A little bit late, though.
Yeah, can't be thrilled with that.
No. Sittner finds a land and an enchantment to add to the mix. What is he going to get back? Unfortunately for him, Emrakul
Exiled.
no
longer an option for him.
But there's some good stuff in there. Tireless Tracker is certainly an option.
Yeah, Tireless Tracker seems like it's the best choice, especially when you really need extra resources. The one problem with taking Tireless Tracker is that it's a card that kind of baits you into waiting a turn to cast it, unless you already have the land in your hand.
Yeah, he's going to take the tracker after all, though. And he just feels like he's better off just spending his mana right now and getting it on the battlefield. If it dies here, it's bad for Alex. He's not happy. But it's better to have the mana. And yeah, down it goes. Grasp of Darkness from this control deck. And there's the Demonic Pact from Chris Patello. Ships the turn back to Sittner. And man, this has been a clinic. Everything going perfectly for Chris, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he had his
Game
hands
after game.
torn apart by 2 Transgressors and a Duress early, and he has just chugged right along. And it looks like he's going to go ahead and take the cards here. Nothing to point the 4 damage at him, and you can hit a player, but that's not how he's going to win this game. So he'd rather just bolster his position with cards in hand right now.
See, what's so cool to me, too, is that Demonic Pact is such a powerful card.
Baby, how about another one?
Yeah, second copy. Kind of awesome. That, your combo, like normally when you're playing a combination deck, you have a card, like 2 cards you have to play in your deck that aren't that exciting. Here, Demonic Pact is so powerful. We're talking about a card that, often translates to 5 cards for a single card. And as long as he's able to slow down the game to the point where he can do that, then it's just incredible. And he can slow that game down very well with cards like Radiant Flames and Grasp of Darkness and all these removal spells that he has access to.
Okay, it looks like on his upkeep, he's going to go ahead and just do 4 to Alex with that first pact and then draw his cards with the second one. And we know what's coming in here, right? Boom. He's done the exact same play that he did before. He's given Alex the Demonic Pact. And has Alex brought in a way to deal with it? Do you have his sideboard handy there, Jake?
Oh, these decks just came in. That's good.
I'm just curious if Alex does have a way to interact here. It was pretty obvious in the first game that he didn't.
He's completely cold to it.
And he made
Such an adorable face.
he made Chris discard, and now Chris is at 20. Like, Alex was able to get absolutely nothing going.
Looking through his graveyard real quick, wants to know
beating.
maybe what his opponent's mana base is so we can go home and build this on Magic Online.
I tell you what. And he says, you got me. There's
That's all she
nothing he
wrote.
can do. And Chris Botello is going to be in prime position for top 8 here in Portland, Jake.
It's amazing. All he has to
I
do
agree
is draw
with you,
this
Alex
last
Sittner.
round.
Did you see that look on his face? You looked up like, really? Now, the good news is for Alex, though, is this only is going to put him down to 12-2, and he's, going to be live for top 8 next round. So.
Yeah, after having had to be the sacrificial lamb to this harmless offering deck.
Goodness sakes. All right, let's take a look at what Oliver Tomaszko and Cody Lingelbach are up to. But the last time we visited these two gentlemen, Cody was, well, it wasn't pretty for Oliver. Let's just put it that way. There were some tentacles being crushed, some water veils being parted, and that
I
was
think
about
the
it.
tentacles are the things doing the crushing.
Oh.
You know?
Right. You're totally right. Flavor Judge Jacob Van Luna with a call. Thank you. So,
I've always been a fan of cephalopods.
so
Amazing
So we've
creature.
got 11-1-1 for Cody and 12-1 for Oliver. So these two guys also very much in the thick of it for the top 8. And Cody looking to improve to 12-1-1. Maybe be able to draw? Is 12-1-2? That's where things get a little weird, but probably would be in with that. And Oliver's in a similar position to Alex from before, where he's trying to pick up a win out of these next two.
If Oliver can win this match, it's looking pretty good for him to top 8 this tournament.
And this game is looking nice for him as well, as he's smashing reality right now. And Cody looks like he's much further behind than he was before. When we came in, he was in a relatively empty board before. But here's Crush of Tentacles from Cody.
Yeah.
Please report to the center of that stage. Anthony Bass and George Dawson.
I think the players are leaving their cards out for a second so that they can let each other write them down. These are all going back into their hands. So
Time is of the essence, though. You got to be careful in these situations. I mean,
I'm always careful, Jake.
even that leftover mana gets to cast another oath.
Yeah, that's one of the things that this Oath of Nissa does in this deck as well, is enable cheap Surge, right? It's just a 1-mana spell so that you can try to get Crush of Tentacles on the Surge cost.
So whenever
easily as
possible, when you're
possible.
playing the Cody Lingelbach's deck, you should really be searching out lands that are not basic forest, because you don't want to get into a situation in the late game where your Nissa Vastwood Seer doesn't search for a forest, so you can't transform it right away.
Okay, good to know.
It's an important thing to look at. So I'm there with the Oath of Nissa having an option between forest and island, and he immediately snapped off the island.
So now a board that looked pretty good for Oliver Tomashko looks a lot worse facing down the 8/8 Octopus, and with kind of a clogged up hand now. He's going to have a productive turn because he's got a bunch of spells in his hand, but he had already invested that mana, and now he's got a lot more investment to do. The Reality Smasher looks a little puny now, doesn't it?
Yeah, Reality Smasher, not that great when your opponent has an octopus on their side of the table. Pilgrim's Eye, again, one of Standard's best Emerge enablers. And the thing that's really nice about it, too, is that it gives you 2 card types in your graveyard when you're trying to get Delirium and Emerge giant monsters.
Pilgrim's Eye doing just enough to earn the slot in these lists. Here's another thing it can do. Get gobbled up. In this case, a Lashweed Lurker is going to do serious work killing that 8/8. I mean, it puts a card on top of their library, but as it's a token, it's just going to get exiled, and that's nice. That 8/8 was going to be an issue for Oliver next turn.
Well, the problem is that Cody can essentially chain those at some point or another once he gets enough lands in play, and he's not many
Chain
turns
Crush of
away from
Tentacles,
that.
you mean? Or?
Yeah, because of Den Protector,
Mhm.
he's able to return the Den Protector to his hand and then just keep going. And he only needs
Keep crushing?
Yeah, so if he has right now he's 8 lands. Once he gets to 10, he can Den Protector, flip up Den Protector, crush. Den Protector, flip up Den Protector, crush. And unless Oliver finds a way to both remove the 8/8 and play Reality Smasher and another 3 points of power, then Oliver can't really get through that no matter what happens.
I like the sound of that. Den Protector, flip, crush.
Yeah.
All right, so Cody has found himself an Elvish Visionary here. What else does he have? What else does he want to do? This is going to go for Explosive Vegetation. This will get him to that level of mana. I think this actually pushes him up to 11 now.
Yeah, so he's there. The problem is only 5 mana left on tap now. Does he have another crush? He does.
He does have another crush.
Yeah, so now he is
Now, he doesn't have a Den Protector, though, right?
he is in fact a player who will crush a lot.
Does he have a... he doesn't have a Den Protector in hand, though, right, Jake? Like
No,
you
he
haven't
does.
Seen one? Oh, he does have one.
Because
Okay.
he played it to turn on Surge the turn before.
That was what he played for Surge. All right.
Yeah.
So he's got the loop going now. Now, what ends up happening from here on out? So you describe this pattern that he can do.
Mm-hmm.
How does he end up winning?
Well, eventually he can find part the water veil, and then he can just attack for lethal over the course of a couple turns.
With his 8/8. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at this point,
Ooh.
yeah, things have changed a little bit here for Cody. Starting to look good setting up that situation that you described, but now Auntie Emrakul has shown up, and
See, the problem
she's angry.
I don't even know what he can really do here. Is Part the Water Veil target player?
Do you want me to look for you?
Or I think it's just take an extra turn.
They usually template it like just take another turn, but yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. No, it's good to be thorough. So that's not a good thing for Oliver to cast on Cody's behalf.
And so he gets to take care of that 8/8, but
Yeah. He gets to play the Den Protector face up, preventing at least the first iteration of that loop and forcing Cody to find another way to get things back. He's going to play Oath of Nissa, more like Oath of Wissa.
Oath of Missa.
Yeah, he missed a. Okay, well, I like what Oliver's doing here. Like, this is certainly. I don't know if this wins him the game. Remember, Emrakul, pretty lethal here.
Yeah,
As
Oliver-
13-13 flyer. He may just leave Cody with, like, a draw step or, a couple of draw steps with the Part the Water Veil.
And I've seen Cody beat Rosalden Rockwell before. Round off a few rounds ago, but it gets difficult. He's going to need to part the water veil. He can also, go looking for things with Elvish Visionary here.
I mean, he is going to get to see a lot of cards.
Absolutely.
Looks like he's going to clear out the last few for us to see how many he's got in there. Yeah, he's got 3
Yeah.
with his Nissa's Pilgrimage. So one of those is going to hit play. He's going to play one of them from his hand and keep the other one in his hand. I think he's just thinning out his deck here. And he's going to play Part the Water Veil.
I'm actually somewhat surprised
He's going to Awaken.
chose to take this line because he had other lines available to him as well where he could have used Nissa Vastwood's Seer and changed it into Nissa Sage Animist and then cast Part the Water Veil, not necessarily using its Awaken ability, but then he gets multiple Planeswalker activations both on this turn and on the extra turn. So a lot of options available to him there. But I'm confident he definitely knows how to play this deck pretty well.
There's Sight Beyond Sight here for Cody. Dig. It's going to rebound in a while. Okay, Elvish Visionary. This is starting to get a little hot under the collar here for Lingelbach. What has he found? Is it Crush? I can't actually see, but I'm going to assume so.
Looks like Crush.
It looks like Crush to me as well. And you mentioned this earlier, Jake. Cool interaction, non-land. So he gets to crunch in there and drop Oliver down to 10. Certainly not winning the game on the spot, as Oliver likely is just going to cast Emrakul again. But
but again, we saw what happens when that happens. And now Cody has even more lands at his disposal to go searching for more answers.
the key is that he needs to keep finding Part the Water Veils or a way to get Emrakul out of the way, though, right? That's the hard
Absolutely.
part.
Now, there we go.
Uh-oh.
That's a pretty nice way to handle it,
But
too.
wait a second. Is that bad news for Cody? So what
That
we're talking
is
about is,
bad
by the
news
way,
for Cody.
Ulamog.
Yeah.
What Jake and I both spotted was an Ulamog that Cody drew with that last draw there.
Yeah, Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger.
Yeah. And it's lunchtime because, like, this is going to be bad, right? Like, Oliver can recast it. He can cast Ulamog and exile two of Cody's permanents with that. I don't know.
Oliver's
got to
pull the trigger, though. And is he going to play Emrakul again? I would assume he would. But he has other options. Like, he has a Distended Mindbender in his hand.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think it's that clear. I guess it is that clear with you at
All
10.
Right. Here's Emrakul for Oliver.
Last call to register for the 3 o'clock Innistrad.
Anything else?
Sealed deck event. Last call to
Pass to
register
you.
for the Innistrad
So he gets to show him his hand, and there's some good news and some bad news in there. Also, I guess he just forgets about the rebound here, right? I think that's optional. If it's not, he will just pick the worst. It looks like it's not optional, so he has to decide between these 2 cards.
I would assume that he's going to take a Death Mist Raptor that doesn't really do too much here. Jeez. Yeah, that Ulamog is a...
That's a real deal.
it's a problem. Not the turn Cody wanted to draw that.
You can see that Oliver is now doing a quick count of his own library, because if he decides to cast that Ulamog and take out a couple of permanents on Cody's side, he will leave Cody with an untapped, non-summoning sick Ulamog that gets to attack.
And that's going to mill him for a lot of cards.
20 cards go away when Ulamog gets hungry. So the question is, does that kill him? And I don't think it does. I think that Oliver has more than 20 cards in his library left. But it's certainly a factor. It matters.
It is absolutely a factor here.
This is kind of awkward for Oliver, right? Like, a lot of the
this is
cards that
hard.
Cody has seem like, they're getting a lot of incidental benefit from being cards that either affect both sides equally or only benefit Cody. It's like, oh, I'll cast your Part the Water Veil for you. It's like, all right. I'll take 2 turns in a row. All right, but Oliver is, in fact, going to cast it. And he's going to take out the 6/6 land. And what else? Looks like he's thinking about taking out a Lumbering Falls.
That's what I would do.
Okay. Those are going to get exiled.
A lot of draw steps that Cody Lingelbach could use to win this game, though. Part the Water Veil's good enough, in my opinion.
It just is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Ulamog attacks. Then Ulamog attacks.
Yeah.
That was it. Oh, this has been a really cool game, by the way.
Yeah, this has been a fun one. And we joined in kind of late, too. But it's kind of nice to join into this type of match late because nothing really happens until later. Everybody's just kind of bouncing things around. And it's also, these are the types of games where you get worried that it's repetitive, but at the same time, it's not so repetitive even when somebody's looping a card like Crush of Tentacles. Oliver probably pretty happy there that he was able to put apart the Water Veil onto the bottom of Cody's library.
That's a big deal. Might be the game, in fact.
Here goes.
All Oliver has to do is turn that stupid Emrakul sideways once.
Yeah.
The game's over.
He's got to get there, though.
I think Cody was considering using his Blighted Woodland on upkeep, but decided against it. Okay, there's an Elvish Visionary. There's a Crush.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat. Now, he doesn't have enough mana to Crush and then Ulamog again, does he?
I
No way.
do not
right?
believe he does.
Okay. I mean, he's got so much mana, it's actually starting to, come into focus
I
here.
think he... no, he still wouldn't have had it even the Ulamog had.
Okay, well, start things off. Ulamog's going to get blocked, but Ulamog doesn't care, being indestructible and all. And, yeah, that does leave Oliver just one attack from Ulamog away from having the entire library just gobbled up.
With that Crush, I mean, he's not in the worst spot. I mean...
Yeah, we've seen this before, haven't we? And there's Crush of Tentacles. Oh, invasive surgery left up from Tomashko.
Oh, my
What
goodness.
a great sideboard card for Oliver. Is that going to just win him the game? So he also has Delirium, so he's going to get to look around and take all the other crushes, though. Wait, not that
You
one.
don't get to take that card.
And kind of interesting, though maybe not relevant. That might have just won him the game unless Cody has something else. But there is a shuffle now. Remember, there was a part of the water veil on the bottom of the library for Oliver, which will no longer, well, which might not be down on the bottom anymore. But
The problem is
that
now
might
Cody
not
doesn't
matter
have enough
anymore.
land to cast the spells that matter at this point.
Or find them. There's an Elvish Visionary, but he may just be going through the motions here.
It seems like it. Wow.
And he's passed the turn back to Oliver.
That was incredible.
Wow.
Invasive surgery. A sideboard card you're not used to seeing.
And it just wrecked this game. Cody's
Yeah.
going to have to scoop him up. And Emrakul gets in there to even things up. Now, that is one game apiece for these two players. That was only game 2. I have to wonder where the clock's at for these players, as these games have gone on for quite a while. Sounds like they got about 9 minutes left, Jake. And that's
9 minutes is not a ton of time.
no, I think we watched them for longer than 9 minutes, and that was only part of the game.
You know
Also,
what's
we've
cool
got
about-
a sideboard and shuffle up here, too.
You know what's cool about Cody's deck, though?
What's that?
When they go to extra turns, he could take conceivably all of the extra turns.
Yeah, well, if he's not winning with them, I suppose if he takes 4 turns in a row, he's probably going to win that game anyway.
Yeah. But let's say he's going to lose. Take some extra turns, pick up a draw.
Coming into the round, Cody was sitting on 34 match points, meaning that he's already taken a draw. Oliver, though, is playing down here.
Yeah, Oliver, one of the last X1s in this tournament. There are only 3 X1s coming into this round. Now only 1 X1 remaining. And that the only X1 remaining in this tournament, besides Oliver, who's playing for it right now, is Chris Botello playing a Harmless Offering Demonic Pact deck.
Yeah.
He is the only person in the entire room who is at 13-1 right now.
And if Oliver loses this game,
He'll be the only person at
he will
13-1.
stand alone at number
Because-
1.
Yeah, the best deck in the tournament at that moment in time. Undisputed.
Jake, this is rough. So do I build the Demonic Pact deck on Magic Online?
No, you
Or
build the
the
4-color
blue-green
prized
trust?
amalgam
No,
deck.
I'm off of that one. That's old news, man. I found out about that yesterday. No, I think I want to build this Crush of Tentacles deck.
I mean, I pretty much have everything for it if you want to borrow whatever.
Yeah, okay. I'm in. Want to trade for Crush of Tentacles.
Yeah. You loan me the 4-color prized amalgam cards. How's that deal?
And I think we're going to see a mulligan here from Cody.
So Cody's deck, however, before we were talking about how well Chris Botello's deck mulligans, Cody's deck does not mulligan well at all.
Okay.
And that's been a problem with decks that play mana ramp throughout Magic's history. When you have less cards to work with, it's harder to have both the action and the ramp.
Right. Cody did keep 6, and he's played an Oath of Nissa, finding himself a Lumbering Falls. So the lands will be flowing for him for at least till the next turn. And Oliver's going to play a Traverse Ulvenwald. Now, I mentioned this earlier in the day, but for those of you who weren't with us earlier, you're going to see something with the players here. They're going to play very quickly. They're probably around 7 minutes to go on their clock, and then neither of them is too keen to pick up a draw here. So you'll see them overlapping a little bit, where Oliver will verbalize what land he's going to get with his Traverse, for example, and then pass the turn back so Cody can do things while his opponent is finishing up some shuffling and that kind of stuff. Cody has an Elvish Visionary, which he's going to play an island afterwards and pass the turn back to Pilgrim's Eye. So this is the
Yeah.
Kind of the part you were talking about, Jake, right?
The build-up.
This not as exciting part when it comes to
Yeah.
like Crush of Tentacles and Emrakul's flying, flying around the table. Cody's going to jam. He's going to offer the trade. Oliver's going to turn it down. And then Nissa's Pilgrimage. So all told, things are cruising for Cody.
Yeah, he seems to be
rolling.
off to the races here. And, I mean, he knows that he can bash in with the Elvish Visionary because even though that Elvish Visionary will give him additional value once he starts casting Crush of Tentacles later on in the game, Oliver still doesn't want to make that trade because the Pilgrim's Eye on Oliver's side of the table gives him access to things like Distended Mindbender or, any of the Emerge cards that are so powerful. I guess it would be...
Is this the correct number of lands for Cody? He's ramped out one. I feel like he has one extra. Wasn't it turn 1 Oath of Nissa, turn 2 Elvish Visionary, and then the Pilgrimage
He should have had 4...
on that turn? Okay, then if he should have had 4, then it's correct because he ramped out to 5. Sorry, I must have
I
miscounted.
remember. He was on the play.
I must have
also,
miscounted.
so,
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so Send to Sleep now for Cody Lingelbach. Not a card that we've seen get a lot of standard play. It taps down 2 creatures, and if you've got Spell Mastery, they stay tapped. And he's going to use it just to keep the Elder Deep Fiend from beating him down while calling it beat down with Elvish Visionary is probably a little bit extreme, but he is chipping away. Here's a Primal Druid now for Tomashko.
That is time in the Super Sunday Series.
And the ramp continues to flow here for Cody Lingelbach. He's got an explosive vegetation now.
And that needs to negate, though, from Oliver. And Oliver recognizing how important it is to Cody's deck to have access to huge numbers of mana. And Cody wants to be casting cards like Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, Part the Water Veil with Awaken, Surge, Crush of Tentacles. So countering a card like Explosive Vegetation, just huge. Not only are you countering a 2-for-1, but you're also just turning off what your opponent's deck wants to do.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so this is great. So traverse the Elvenwald now that Oliver has Delirium, which he has off of 3 cards, by the way, thanks to Pilgrim's Eye.
Very nice.
It allows him to find Elder Deep Fiend, and then he has exactly the amount of mana he needs to sacrifice a Primal Druid, search for a land, tap a whole bunch of Cody's lands, and then now he's bashing for 10 a turn with this Elder Deep Fiend, and then on the following turn he's going to be able to back it up with a negate.
So it looks like Cody's going to activate his Lumbering Falls in response, at least using the mana for something, giving him the opportunity to maybe chump block here. Uh-oh, this one could be
during his
slipping away
turn.
from Lingelbach pretty quickly. Is on his upkeep? Okay.
Yeah.
So he's just doing it because he's not going to use the mana for anything else, and here's an Elvish Visionary. Oliver Tomashko with the 2 5-powered attackers ready to start putting the heat on Cody Lingelbach, and it's not looking good for Cody here.
Not at all. Quickly falling behind here.
I mean, that's what Elder Deep Fiend's supposed to do, right? I mean, the big tempo hits where
Absolutely.
you just you skip a turn type thing.
And when they
Cody's
chain together, it's even better.
it is, yeah.
And there we see again.
Oh no, the 3rd in a row? How is Cody supposed to beat this? He just keeps having his turn taken away from him.
All of his green mana.
He is once again looks like they're having a little hard time figure out exactly which lands are being tapped. It was what you said, though, Jake. It's all the green mana.
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
All right. Well, he's going to get a draw step here, but he's facing lethal. He's got a handful of cards. I think he's going to have to play a Den Protector, maybe just as a chump blocker here.
That's what it looks like.
Oh,
but
it's got to be frustrating for Cody. He's in
Yeah, I
a
think
reasonable
Kozilek's
spot, but
return is
that's
it.
it. Kozilek's return is going
Yeah.
to sweep away the Den Protector, and Cody's going to
Attack
take
for
15 damage. He didn't even get to play.
Elder Deep Fiend stealing a game away.
And you mean Deep Fiends?
Elder Deep
Three of them,
Fiends.
triple Elder Deep Fiend for Oliver
Better in multiples,
Tomaszko.
to be sure.
Wow. All right. So Tomaszko, though, means that he is going to stay at that elite level with Chris Botello. Both of them now occupying that slot at the top. And it does mean that Cody, who's on 34 points, is going to have to win that last one and see what he can do about getting into the top 8.
It'd be cool to have one of these blue-green crush decks make it.
The funny part about this, by the way, is Shin versus Jay Ueda here. It looks like we have it on like a little bit sped up. It's not.
This is just normal. This is live right now.
This is absolutely live in real time, and they are playing this fast.
Wow, this is legitimately live?
Like Rashad just came in to say this is not sped up. This is real time, actual speed. Look at him go. And you can see there's a judge in there definitely reminding them that, hey, guys, the clock's on. And this is a huge one for Shin. If he goes to 10, 2, and 1, that could cost him a top 8. And, of course, same thing for Jay on the other side. They both have the same record. So what a mess, by the way.
Yeah, I would love to see Shin in this top 8. 4-color amalgams, a deck that I'm pretty excited about, to be honest.
All right, looks like we may be working our way towards the 5-turn rule here. I don't see any indication, though.
Yeah, this is kind of a mess. Ooh, interesting. Returning Elder Deep Fiend with Reflector Mage. Or no. Was that what happened? I believe it is. It's confusing enough board where...
Did he miss a trigger here? I see the players pointing at Nissa. They may be trying to just sort out who's turn 0 versus turn 1. It depends on whose turn it was when time was officially called in the round. They could be sorting that out as well.
It certainly matters.
On-demand event registration closes at 4 o'clock today.
We have seen a lot of this in the feature match area today. A lot of our matches going to time. I think that's part of the reason why I like that demonic pack deck so much. Like one way or the other, somebody's losing this game.
Yeah. It goes quick.
It might be you, it might be me, but
It's got to be the worst when they have a counterspell for your Harmless Offering.
so it looks like what they were doing was saying, do I still get my trigger for Nissa? They were pointing at Nissa at the beginning, and I was wondering if that's what was going on. And it does seem to be the case that they were saying, well, did you miss this yet? Or
Did he draw his card yet?
I don't know, Jake. But they did let him get the forest.
Okay.
Attention, in the start, old and new sealed players.
There's his card.
Parent seatings for deck construction are now up at the red gathering point.
And again, I'm going to assume that that 1 down there does indicate that we've entered turns and that this is going to be turn number 1.
Jay seems to be in a pretty good spot here from the looks of things. I mean, he's got a massive board here. He's got a life advantage. He has 3 turns to try to win this game. For what it's worth, it doesn't even look like we're that far into this game.
Okay, well, Jay wants to try to end this thing, so he's going to jam. Shin's at 12. And it looks like he's going to go for Haunted Dead from his graveyard, discarding another Haunted Dead. And a Noose Constrictor, which he's got a couple of in the yard, by the way. That's cool. And this is Shin trying to decide how best to block. It looks like he's going to put the token on... He's counting.
Just wants to make sure he's not going to die.
Yeah, he put the token on the Selfless Spirit, I'd guess. And I think Jay let them trade and then hit for a ton of damage here.
If he sacrifices
What
the
is he
clue,
gonna
is
do?
that...
Is he going to be at 2?
Nice.
Yeah, he's at 2.
All right.
And it looks like this is another. Oh, this one's a Duskwatch recruiter here for Jay. Well, for all that flurry and hurry that we had when we first came in, it looks like they've settled down a little bit, and Jay has put himself in a fantastic position to win this game with tons of lethal creatures on the battlefield. And he adds yet another one. All right, Shin, what do you got?
What he really needs here is Kozilek's Return in conjunction with an Emerge creature.
And from what we can see of his graveyard, he doesn't have a Kozilek's Return in yard already. That is going to make things very difficult for him.
Yeah, this is really difficult spot for Shin.
He's got a Jace. He can use that to mitigate one of the threats or to get something out of his yard if he's got anything to flash back. I don't see it from here. He's got an Elder Deep Fiend in his hand. He's a mana short from hard casting it currently. And he's counting out if he can survive the next turn. If he has to sacrifice a creature to play the Deep Fiend, and that's 4 creatures tapped, but he's at parity, we'll have 3 blockers.
Problem is, if he has to use the Elder Deep Fiend defensively here to survive, then he will be unable to use it in conjunction with a Kozilek's Return on on another turn, and that's really what he needs to be doing.
No, I mean, with he only gets 2 more turns.
Yeah, that's. I guess you're right.
He gets 1 more, but Jay gets 2 more. I think Shin is just playing for the draw if he can muster it, and I think it's going to be very close if he can even do that.
And perhaps at this point, what he needs to do is just chain a pair of Elder Deep Fiends. He's going to have a chance.
Even then, it's close. He's got a Haunted Dead in his hand and in the graveyard. He's got 2 cards in his hand, but I think 2 of them are Elder Deep Fiends.
Could be worse then.
Yeah, they are. So if he just plays it, he'll have 4 blockers and only 2, he'll be clear 2 creatures in that scenario. Remember, Jace is shrinking down, that Reflector Mage or whatever. So it actually works. He played his land here. He says, okay, during your upkeep, I'm going to play an Elder Deep Fiend. Tap down your 4 biggest things. And then there are going to be 2 attackers left over, but 4 blockers from Shin.
Yeah.
And if he just does this again on his next turn, I think he can earn the draw here.
Good enough.
Please go to the blue meeting point. Your draft is waiting for you.
Is that a Lumbering Falls down there too as well for Jay? That doesn't change anything immediately, but that is something to consider because taking a look, he's got 2 Sylvan Advocates as well. That could force a chump block down the line too.
And right now, only 5 lands in play here for Jay, but...
Indeed. He's going to have 2 turns, though. This one and then the 5th turn. So if he can find a land in that stage, then that Lumbering Falls might matter.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
it'll force a block, yeah. Well, this is about as close as they get.
So close. And
from Shin's side, he's...
That 1 turn. Deciding whether or not he wants to attack at all. I mean, he may just want to pass the turn here. Especially with his card like Collected Company in hand.
Yeah, he doesn't have any good attacks here. He just loses all 3 creatures and trades off for either a Haunted Dead or a Spider. It doesn't look great.
Yeah, not what you want to be doing.
No, so he's going to crack a clue. It's Jay. Curious to see if he finds that 6th land as well as it may be relevant. Though I don't think he's going to be able to piece it together.
Certainly not on this turn.
Oh. Huh. The plot thickens. A Reflector Mage from Jay.
Now there's only your opponent only gets one more turn. So if you turn Ishkana, you don't really have to worry about it.
How crazy is that? Oh, he's actually just going to return the spider.
Huh.
I kind of like your thinking there.
Yeah.
He can't cast it this turn. Well, that's also the last turn he gets to play, so you just get rid of it permanently. Also prevent that from being cast. Like if Shin were to find an Ishkana off the top here, he'd be quite pleased to just replace that one and bring a bunch of spiders. Oh, interesting. He actually did find a Kozilek's Return here.
Okay.
He's showing him the cards and talking to him, but it looks to me like Jay's saying, yeah, that's cool, man. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, the thing is that I think what Shin is trying to say is like I think I'm going to win.
I'm going to win. Okay.
And I kind of agree with him.
I mean, you said this is what he needed to set up, and he has the mana
Yeah.
to just cast Kozilek's Return, get it in the graveyard, and then, sack the Haunted Dead or whatever to get it to trigger with his other copy of Elder Deepfiend.
Yeah, and then he's got a Jace on the table. He's got, a pair of 5/6s.
Yeah, and he's facing
Haunted
down
Deads in his graveyard.
kind of nothing.
Yeah.
Like
Nothing
no
with nothing in hand?
Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got 2 cards in his hand.
That's true.
It's convincing. No, your argument is very
Yeah.
convincing. Well, let's see how it plays out, because as it stands, Shin needs to try to win this very turn, and he can't.
He cannot.
That's not going to happen. So the best he may be able to hope for here is a draw.
Standard 10. Please meet at the blue gathering point. Standard
Okay, well, he's going to kick things off by casting this. This is going to leave him with Ishkana, which he can use to cast his other Elder Deepfiend, as he's a little light on mana to be able to full hard cast at 8.
He's going to want to pass the turn here, I imagine.
I would think so, though. Looks like he may be just main phasing it. Doesn't want to run any risk of losing it here. That goes away. That goes away. Everything else goes away. Shouldn't there be another Deep Fiend here, or did I miss that?
No. Well, the problem is that because he
Oh,
did it
he-
all on the same
yeah.
turn, he sevens.
He sevens everything.
yeah.
Ouch.
Where if he was able to wait till Jay's upkeep, then he
He's-
only 5s it.
He was playing around sideboarded, Clash of Wills or something, or
I guess so.
all right. I suppose if it is going to be a draw, this is probably the safest, right? He can tap out Jay and just make sure that Jay doesn't have lethal here. So Shin drew an Ishkana.
Yeah, I mean, now at this point, the politics of it. It looks like this match is going to end in a draw, though.
It does feel like that, yeah. I mean,
This
right
is turn
now,
5.
Shin does not have the ability to get in for 16. He has 0 turns left, and Jay, with his freshly swiped board, is not going to be able to kill and get that last 2 damage into Shin anyway. I didn't see what he drew for the turn, but I can't imagine that it's going to be able to get in for 2 damage, right? He can't give his creature flying, or his Lumbering Falls flying or anything like that, so...
Yeah, and Jay revealing his hand. He has Spell Queller, Tireless Tracker, and a Sylvan Advocate. Nothing that's going to be able to win the game for him this turn.
Yeah, so I think that the players are just going to have to take a draw here. Tough one for them. We'll keep an eye on how that develops for you. But yeah, that's going to do it for round 14 here from Portland.